lot of lectures. So they got into a discussion with the lifers group, and at the end of it, no one wanted to leave because they just had this incredible exchange of ideas from these, insightful, brilliant people who were inside, as well as, the people inside getting to hear from the college students. And a gentleman who was incarcerated there, one of the lifers named Paul, Paul came to Lauren. He said, "Why don't you make a college class out of this? We can do it every week. We can come up and study and talk and learn together about the criminal justice system." She said, "That would be wonderful, but it's too far. It's 120 miles. I can't see how we could do it." He said, "Well, you should do it in Philadelphia." So she went back, and Temple got in talks with the Philadelphia Department of Prisons. And the first class was taught in 1997 at the Philadelphia Industrial Correctional Center to the women's cohort. And from that single class, where Lori brought in a group of Temple students to meet with a group of people incarcerated at Pick, and they had a regular college class for college credit, except they were having it inside Pick. And from that class, as of today, I think close to 2,000 instructors have been trained as I was, and more, I'd say probably topping 60 or 70,000 students from inside and outside have been through these courses. And it has expanded from Philadelphia to all over the world. There's Inside Out in Australia, in the UK, in the Netherlands, in Canada, Mexico, and I think they're working on some other countries as well. But it has a global reach, and it's the simplest thing of all. You simply bring people together to have a dialogue on an equal playing field as colleagues, and what happens is just miraculous. Now, I've I have taught in, I've been fortunate, I had a week-long training as an instructor. They're very serious about it. And I was trained inside the former Graterford prison, which has been replaced by Phoenix out in Collegeville. It's the nearest state prison to Philadelphia. And I was trained for a week, and I spent 2 whole days inside Graterford being trained by the lifers group there, who had become the think tank for Inside Out and helped develop the courses. And these are some of the most brilliant trainers and philosophers and teachers I've ever met. It totally transformed the way I look at education and the way I teach and my understanding of dialogue and communication. And so I went and I taught my first class at the Philadelphia Industrial Correctional Center, the men's maximum security prison side, in 2013. I've also taught at Riverside, which was the women's facility. I've taught at the Federal Detention Center in Center City, and also I think I've attended classes at the detention center and so on, and also was fortunate enough to go to more trainings and conferences at Graterford before it was closed. So it has been just a remarkable journey. And then I was teaching a class at Pick in 2020 when the pandemic shut everything down, and we were ushered out of the prison, the jail, and we never saw our classmates again or heard of them. That's how it was back then, and there was no access. So Arcadia and some other schools, and one of my colleagues at Arcadia helped develop an online course with folks who had formerly been incarcerated and Arcadia students, and that was very successful. And then I had the good fortune in about 2023 to take over a class that Laurie Pompa, the founder, had been teaching through Temple, where we're working with three groups. There are men incarcerated at Kern Fromhold Correctional Center in Philadelphia coming through a computer lab. A little, they formerly incarcerated students from around the area and Arcadia and Temple students, sorry. And it was a really successful class, but her schedule didn't permit her to teach it, so I took it on. So probably for the past 3 years, I have taught an online class where folks are coming in from Kern Fromhold, CFCF. I have folks who formerly incarcerated who we call community students. And by the way, Inside Out calls incarcerated students inside students. This is another thing of humanizing language. Try not to use alienating or labeling language. And the college students are called outside students. So I had the good fortune to teach a class with community students from all over the world. In fact, in one class, I had folks from Australia and the UK. And that's the beauty of Zoom. And it is an amazing class. Let me just say, it's, I mean, I can't tell you what an incredible class it is and how transformative it's been. And I would not have said that when I first started teaching online, that that could happen online, but it does. And it happens in person too. So I had the good fortune in this particular class, which is a class about the power of stories and storytelling, for James to join the class. James first tried in the fall of 2024, but he had various things that made it not possible to attend class at the time. But then I was certainly lucky in about a year ago, in the spring of 2025, when James joined the class. And I had the good fortune to get to know James and to be the recipient of his wisdom and energy and drive. And that, you know, him sharing his story, especially with the guys who were inside, was really transformative and awakening for everyone. So I'm so glad James is here tonight, and he can talk about much better about the power of this and what it means when everyone treats each other as equals, everyone is humanized, and we drop all our biases and prejudices and are willing to learn from each other. So welcome, welcome, James, and thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for having me, and thank you, Miss Sue, and thank you, Dr. Jeter Owls. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. It's such an honor to be here and be able to share my story. This is something I want to do in the future. And I mean, it was such an honor for Miss Sue to call me back and give me the opportunity to be in the Inside Out course, because, like she said, I definitely liked the course, but I was working a different job at the time, and I got hurt on that job, and then I ended up getting a job at Penn State, and my schedule conflicted with everything. And I would definitely like to touch up with you on the Inside Out course, but I would like to give you guys a little overview of myself, a little background of myself a little bit, and how, you know, I changed my life, and then going through what I'm going through and still pursuing education, which led me to the Inside Out course, and then what the Inside Out course has done for my life. And it's such a blessing. So if you don't mind, I wrote something down. I just want to give you a little bit of background of who I am. And um, what I'm about to say is, for you counselors, I would like to say congratulations, by the way. And you guys are much needed in this field. And it's such an honor to be able to speak in front of you. So I'm gonna give you a little bit background of how my mindset, to show you the mindset of my upbringing, which led to what my life turned out to be as far as the criminal background of mine, if you don't mind. So so basically what I said is I said, first, I would like to thank Dr. Priscilla and Professor Sue for giving me the opportunity to share my story with you. My hope is that by you hearing my story, you will approach your future careers with an open mind and a non-judgmental heart. And before I get started, how many of you ever heard of Mount Union, Pennsylvania? Which I'm sure probably none of you guys, but so that's where I'm from. I'm from Mount Union, Pennsylvania. So Mount Union is a small town with a current population of about 2,300 people. It's made up of a mix of black and white families. And growing up there, opportunities were limited. So it was a small town with a few local jobs, and many families had to commute long distances just to earn a living. I grew up in a low income housing known as the projects. My mom always made sure we had a roof over our head and food on the table, but money was tight. She built a career working in family services for Head Start, helping children and families throughout our community. She tried to lead by example and be a beacon of hope for everyone she served, but most importantly, for her son, me. As I got older, I loved sports, especially baseball. People noticed my talent, but I didn't see a path beyond high school. In Mount Union, I didn't see many people leave the area and succeed through sports. The lack of opportunity made it easier for me to drift into drinking, partying, and eventually drugs, selling drugs. So I'm gonna go into the first PowerPoint. So what basically led to my incarceration? So looking back, it started long before I ever sold drugs. There were several factors that shaped my mindset that eventually led me down the path. As future counselors, I believe understanding someone's mindset can help you understand how many people make sense of their choices and what pressures they feel and what options they believe are available to them. Growing up, I watched my brother cousins, and their friends go in and out of jail. When they came home, they would teach me card games they had learned inside. There were also times when they would call home from jail and tell me where they had marijuana hidden throughout the house and tell me that I could have it once I found it. At the time, I was only around 13 to 15 years old. Around that age, jail began to feel normal to me, almost like it was a part of life. Looking up to my brother, who was frequently in and out of jail, I remember thinking that I wanted to go to jail when I was older because I thought it was cool. Looking back now, that sounds unbelievable, but at the time, that was the mindset I had. Another factor was poverty. Growing up, I watched other kids and families have things that my family simply couldn't afford. When I was around 12 years old, I had the best friend whose mother bought me the same number of Christmas gifts that she bought her own son. I know that came from a place of love and she treated me like family, but as I got older, I realized she probably understood something I didn't fully understand at the time. My mom didn't have the money to provide the same things that many other families could. In high school, I remember only having one or two outfits for the first day of school while other kids seemed to have plenty. That made me feel less than. It made me feel like I didn't measure up. My mom had also raised my brother since he was 4 years old, even though he wasn't her biological child. Because he was older, he would often go to school shopping with her and she would buy his clothes first. I would usually get whatever was picked out for me with the last of the remaining money. Looking back, I understand the circumstances, but as a kid, those moments contributed to how I viewed myself. Later, when I saw what appeared to be a path to making money, selling drugs became attractive. At first, it was about having money to buy things I wanted and not feeling like I was behind everyone else. But over time, it became about more than clothes or money. I became addicted to the attention, the recognition, and the feeling of importance that came with that lifestyle. I started selling drugs with the mindset that if I wasn't selling to strangers, I would never go to jail. I wanted people to see me. I was flashy and I wanted to be someone important. I wanted people to think I was the man. But the truth was, I wasn't. And eventually, I was incarcerated. My first incarceration happened 6 months after graduating high school. It was Christmas Eve, and I was arrested for a DUI with possession of marijuana. I went to my county jail, a small facility where I already knew many of the inmates and even some of the guards. Because it felt familiar, jail did not seem like major consequence to me. Combined with the mindset that I had developed, I did not fear going back. Jail became a revolving door for me for many years. From 2000 to 2021, I spent approximately 17 years in and out of the criminal justice system. I spent time in the county jail and then two separate sentences of state prison. I did 3 years one time, 3 years another. And then the last time I did federal prison. So I did 7 years in federal prison of an 8 year sentence. And it all seemed normal at that time. During that time, I never made it longer than a year and a half on the outside before returning back to the system. This gives you an understanding of my early life, my mindset, and the choices that eventually led to my incarceration. But I would like to say, since 2001, I guess you could say my life is a real world example of what is possible. Working, going to college, staying out of trouble, and building a new life. Many teach others many things that you can't learn in the classroom. Don't define people. One thing I can leave for you counselors is don't define people by the worst thing they ever done. And remember that people are capable of change. And sometimes the person who needs someone to believe in them the most is the person everyone has already given up on. So that's a little bit of my background, which led to, my incarceration. And like I said, it didn't define who I was. And for you counselors going out there, I just hope that you have an open mindset. And I got some bullet points that I'm going to go over with you guys. And I'm trying to make sure I stay on time to get everything done. But I think this is going to be valuable. And I came up with 9 bullet points to share with you. And I'm going to use them as questions, basically. And then I'll answer them for you. And it will give you a little bit of a background of, the person that was inside and outside. So if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and start now. So my first bullet point was my early life and the choices that led to my incarceration. So what led to my incarceration? So basically, my story did not begin with the first crime I committed. It started much earlier with the environment I grew up in and the things I saw and the beliefs I developed. Like I said earlier, growing up in Mount Union, opportunities felt limited. I grew up in low-income housing and watched people around me struggle and saw incarceration become normal around me. As a young person, I began to believe that jail was just part of life. I looked up to people who had been incarcerated, and I didn't fully understand the consequences of those choices. Poverty, wanting acceptance, wanting recognition, and wanting things I couldn't afford all played a role in shaping my mindset. Eventually, selling drugs became something I thought would give me what I was missing: money, respect, and sense of importance. But the things I thought were making me somebody were actually leading me away from the person I could become. And my second bullet point: what prison taught me and what it didn't teach me. Prison taught me many things, but it did not automatically change me. It taught me how to survive. It taught me patience. It taught me how to adapt. It taught me structure and how to live in that structured environment. But prison did not teach me how to make better decisions when I returned home. For many years, I came home with the same mindset, returned to the same environment, and repeated the same patterns. Being locked up and actually changing are two different things. A person can be physically removed from a situation, but true change has to happen internally. And it wasn't until 2021 when I finally made that decision to change my life, which I'll touch up on here in a few. Number three, what finally made me change? What was my turning point? My turning point came in 2021. After years of repeating the same cycle, I finally realized that I wanted a different life. I had to make different choices. The biggest changes were moving away from my hometown, leaving old people, places, and things behind, becoming a father, and wanting to be a better example, finding stable employment, wanting a better future for myself and my children, and also having the resources. Meeting a friend of mine that did 52 years in prison who introduced me to the Inside Out program. And then I met Miss Sue, and me and Miss Sue became good friends. And I reached out to her all through my first semester in college, which I'll touch on again here in a little bit. But yeah, it's been resources is powerful. And as counselors, you are that resource that people are going to look for. So, yeah, you guys are very important, and we need more people like you in this world to see people for who they are and have a little bit of empathy. Um, so number four, the challenge of reentry. What happens when someone comes home from prison? People often think getting released is the end of the struggle. For many people, it is only the beginning. Reentry comes with challenges, many of them that I faced this go around, but I never gave up. And some of them challenges for me was finding employment, rebuilding trust with family, dealing with the stigma of having a criminal record, and proving yourself over and over again, learning how to live differently, because a criminal record will follow you. But one of the biggest challenges is fighting the belief that your past is stronger than your future. People need opportunity, support, and someone to believe change is possible. And all those things I had when I came home. And some of them challenges is fighting the belief that my past was stronger than my future. That was something that I had to go to therapy and some things that I had to deal with, which I'll share again here in the future. Number five, how education changed my future. What role did education play in my transformation? Education gave me something I didn't have for many years: opportunity. 5 years ago, if someone looked at my record, they probably would not have predicted that I would be working at Penn State, attending Penn State, and standing in front of a university classroom sharing my story. Education helped me see myself differently. I went from someone who spent years in the criminal justice system to someone sitting in college classrooms and working toward helping others. Education creates opportunities, but it also creates confidence and purpose. Number six, what I want for future professionals to understand, and what do I want counselors and professionals to remember. I want you to understand that people are more than their records. People are more than their charges. People are more than the worst decision they ever made. Some of you will become counselors. Some of you become probation officers, correction officers, social workers, or police officers. My challenge to you is this: when you meet someone with a criminal record, don't assume their future is already written. Look beyond their worst mistake. Listen to their story, hold them accountable, but don't take away their hope. And I believe this is very important. It's something that I needed when I come home, someone to give me some hope and let me know that, things are looking up for me and I'm doing good. Don't, have a lot of grace is something people tell me all the time because I'm hard on myself. But I guess that comes with a life of crime, and you're so used to going in and out that everything you start to worry about and you just believe things are not possible. So it helps to have somebody tell you, man, that you're good enough, that that you can make it, that things can be different if you just try and buckle down and do what you're supposed to do. Show up every day. Number seven, disability, resilience, and continuing forward. What did challenges teach me? Life does not stop when something difficult happens. Even after changing my life, I faced challenges, including being hurt on the job. That experience tested my resilience, but it did not stop my progress. I learned that setbacks do not have to become the end of the story. The same mindset that helped me rebuild my life helped me face new challenges. Number 8, the power of programs like Inside Out. Why do programs like Inside Out matter? Programs like Inside Out create opportunities for people who normally would never meet to sit, learn together, and see each other differently. When people share a classroom, they have the opportunity to see the person instead of the label. That is powerful because understanding creates connection and connection creates change. And then number 9 is my closing message for you guys. And I want to leave you guys with hope. And what I want you guys to remember is basically people can change. Reentry is difficult. Education creates opportunities. Support matters. And the way professionals treat people matters. And I wanted to close with that because oftentimes when you're in the system, you're looked at like you're not human, that you're less than, or you can't overcome what you're going through. And what I learned about the prison system is that um it's not rehabilitation. Rehabilitation got to come from yourself. There's nothing there that's going to help rehabilitate you to make you want to be better. And this is why I said we need more counselors in there and people to just have hope. And I think we need a little bit of reform of how the system looks at people. And one thing that I'm doing now, I'm a part of the Restorative Justice Initiative program here at Penn State, and they offer college courses to inmates that's in Benner Prison here in State College, and they get an opportunity to go to school for free. And then once they're done with their schooling, or if they're getting ready to be released from this prison, then they can come to the campus here at Penn State and they can start their college career here after getting out of the system. So I'm one of the persons that's a part of that group, and I get to welcome them when they come to the campus and make sure they're comfortable and, just offer them that support that they need. And like I said, we need counselors like you. And I just want to thank you, graduates, for the work that you're doing. Um, it's powerful. And one thing I want to leave you guys with is um, some of the stuff with the Inside Out course, the power of the Inside Out course. And Miss Sue is a beacon of hope and light to this course because I took her course and I seen like her messaging and the way she shared materials with people. I shared this with Dr. Jeter Al's the other day in a call. But I watched this student. I don't want to get into politics, but he was a big Trump supporter, and I think this is important. He had a Trump poster up behind him, and as the class went on, weeks went by, as Miss Sue started sharing these stories of the slavery and how it led to prison, and the mistreatment of certain individuals because of their skin color, and just she started pointing out all these things and sharing material about the system and all these things that you're not taught in school. And I watched this kid change in front of my eyes, man, and it's such a blessing. And I heard somebody say this earlier about applying context and perspective. And you guys who said that are absolutely right. When you put context to something and you get to really understand it, and it's not clickbait, or it's not, people saying stuff that's lies, that trying to get you to believe stuff, and you can put other things in context, and you see that people are not animals, and they're not made out, they're not these what people always said they are, or just a criminal. So I believe it humanizes the aspect of this. So that's one thing that this Inside Out course had taught me. And when we get together, this kid, man, we started going into breakout rooms, and he started asking me questions, and I started sharing stories with him. And I mean, every time he would ask questions about stuff, and he was going to be a state cop, and I was just so happy because these cops really need to see both sides of the fence, because it's so often that our police officer are scared of certain individuals because of their skin color or what people said about them, the stereotypes and the stigmas, that they react pretty fast on their job, and they're scared of individuals. So it creates a bad environment for their job. So it was such a blessing to see this kid, man, over the couple of weeks that I was in this class, just totally changed, man. The poster came down, the questions started, and like I said, I get worked up a little bit talking about it. But yeah, just to see, even if you reach one person, and I know that Miss Sue, she reaches a lot of people in these classes, but just that one person was a blessing to see that he was changing over time. And like I said, it's the power of the Inside Out course. And like there's several things with the course that makes everybody feel comfortable, man. Like, and I got on there and I was able to share my story with the class, and Miss Sue gave me an opportunity for that. And I was able to get emotional and show them that I'm human. I cry. I go to therapy. I shared this with the class, and you'll be surprised at how many people was like every class, everybody was like, "Where's James at?" Where? So it just shows the importance of hearing a story from somebody that some people might have written off like years ago. Like, man, nobody ever thought that I was going to turn out this way. But like I said, the resources, hooking up with Miss Sue, and then her plugging me in with other resources, and like I said, she's a beacon of light. She's a beacon of hope. And I had some stuff wrote down for to talk about the inside out course and what it really means. And some of the things that I came up with is like when she was mentioning about it being people going inside the prison to do this, just the power of having that circle with the inside out group with, you know, human beings coming from the outside in to see human beings that's on the inside that they might have thought going inside here that these people are going to be animals, they're going to be crazy, they're going to be loud, obnoxious, whatever. Just being able to get to know these people and meet them and let them know that you are more than your number, or you are more than what somebody labeled you. So I believe that that's very good for the inside out course, but the online course is just as powerful as well because you can reach more people from all over the country. And I had the opportunity to sit in with some people from Australia and some of these other countries, and she introduced me to this graduate student not long ago, and he called me, and his accent, I was like, so he was from over the UK somewhere, but he was calling me mate all the time. But yeah, it's powerful to see these people from all over the country, man, take this class. And like I said, and my message to you counselors, man, people are human. And I just believe that in your field, if you just give people a chance to talk and dig a little bit and pry and try to find out their story. And that's why I shared my upbringing and showed you like the mindset. You just never know what somebody's mindset is, the environment they grew up in. You just never know what they saw and why they did what they did. If we can go back and try to look at why somebody did what they did and then start building off that, I believe that we can make a bigger difference in this world. Just getting to know somebody. And I leave that to you again, counselors. Let people talk, and you'll be surprised at what comes out of their mouth. When I go to therapy, man, I feel like I'm just rambling on, but every time I leave here, I find out something different about myself, and every time it's an aha moment. So if you give people to just a chance to talk, because coming from some of these neighborhoods, people keep stuff bottled up and they never let it out. So if you can give them an opportunity to share their story and see where they're coming from, and then you guys can build off of that, I think they're very powerful, man. Uh, Another thing about the inside out course is the clinical value of it and the radical empathy, how it dismantles the us versus them. And I think that's very important because that mentality, man, is what we're seeing in this world today. So uh that inside out course with the us versus them and her sharing these autobiographies and these myths and these stories about people, it was an opportunity to learn about that stereotype. And also that forces students to confront their own biases, who is fixable or who is broken, I believe, you know. So that's something that was very powerful for the inside out course as well. It's a person-centered approach. um Miss Sue, she didn't get in there and lecture. She told us what she wanted from us. She gave us opportunities to go in these rooms and talk. And like I said, going into these rooms and speaking to people that are from college, that gave me an opportunity to get comfortable. And I built confidence by speaking and telling my story and being able to watch people's facial reactions, because coming home from prison, I was institutionalized and I struggled. And last year, this is before I took Miss Sue's course again. Around this time, I was working. I wanted to quit my job. So when I came home, it's hard trying to find the resources and the help that you need. So when I worked construction for the 3 years upon me first coming home in 2021, and by the way, I never made it longer, a year and a half, like I said, and now I'm going on 5 years. Changed people, places, and things, and here I am. But when I first come home from prison, I worked construction for 3 years. And there I was comfortable because even though I wasn't into the drug scene or doing those things, there's people on these construction sites that still drank, did drugs, or whatever it may be. And I was comfortable in this environment. When I got hurt, I put the application at Penn State. I come to Penn State. I already had this mindset of I'm not going to fit in. Uh, I'm mixed. I'm black and white. I got tattoos. They're not going to accept me. So I created this picture in my head that when I got here, I was already behind the eight ball. I already had a negative image of what was going on here. And I started going through things, and I didn't know what I was going through. And like I said, I was ready to quit my job, and I went to therapy. And when I told her what was going on, the therapist put a word to what I was dealing with, and it was called hypervigilant. And it was a thing. And I went back and instantly told my girlfriend, I said, I told you I'm not crazy. Something's going on. So hypervigilant is basically where you're on alert and you're always scanning the room for like threats. And this place brought that back to me because the way it looked, it reminded me of prison almost. And if I wouldn't have went to therapy, who knows where I'd be? But I went to therapy, and like I said, I still go to this day, and that was last year, and it opened up plenty of doors. And then I was able to go to Miss Sue's class shortly after that and tell my story and share my therapy sessions with the class and show the men there that it's okay to be, vulnerable, to let that thing go, because so many times when you go to prison, man, you put up this mask and this shield and this front, and sometimes it's hard to break that. So I thank that again to the Inside Out course, bringing that mask down, bringing that wall down, and that was very powerful. Another thing is I got from the Inside Out course was the understanding the systemic trauma that it puts on people. So I was able to learn that through Miss Sue as well. And that provides a raw and further look at institutionalization, helping clinicians understand the systemic forces their future clients will face. So sharing the hypervigilance, going to therapy. I know you guys are not therapists, but what you're doing in your field, I believe that when you let people talk, it's going to be like a therapy session, and then you'll get to learn who people are. And like I said, I would have an open mind and just try to build from that. Um, Also, the human catalyst, Inside Out, proves that growth doesn't happen through sterile isolation. It happens through authentic human relation. And that's something Miss Sue taught in that class as well. And that breakout rooms, that breakout room does it, you know. I remember two girls in there, and they used to talk about how when they went to college, they were scared, like they heard stories, and their parents told them stories, so it was a learned behavior, and they carried it on to college. So they were scared of like certain type of individuals and stuff, and they shared a story about how they was afraid to go out by themselves, and so being able to sit down in a breakout room with these women and talk and show them that, yeah, I'm a mixed person from the streets or whatever, and I'm human, and I can change. And I showed them a different side of me, and they were just taken aback by that. So again, sharing your story in these courses like the Inside Out, it shows people, man, that we are human, and regardless of what we're learned when we're younger or teachers taught us, and you know, there's nothing like human interaction with somebody that you heard something about or you stereotyped, and somebody got that stigma. So that was another thing that I got from the Inside Out course. And then the challenge your future counselors to look past diagnosis and systemic walls in your future practice, just as the program does. So that's something else that I would leave with you guys today. And like I said, this is an opportunity, and I appreciate it. Um, I hope that you guys find what you're looking for in your future endeavors. I really do. I hope my story can give you a little bit of insight on someone who was on both sides of the wall, show you that my life has changed. I just finished up my first semester here at Penn State. I start my second semester starting in August, mid-August. I got opportunities opening up, doors is opening up for me. Another thing that Inside Out had taught me was I'm able to write a book. Miss Sue left us with her final project last year, and it was about transformation. And she said we can write an autobiography, we can do superheroes, whatever it may be, but it's got to be about transformation. So I decided that being able to share my story in there and seeing the feedback that I was getting from people. And after the class was over, Miss Sue would send me messages and tell me how well I spoke, or she just gave me a lot of credit, and it built courage, and she gave me confidence. So I decided to write an autobiography on my life, and I just edited it a few days ago. So I got like another month left to do, and then I'll have a book out on transformation and basically my life story of where I come from, which I shared with you guys a little bit, and then where I'm at today, just to show people that, you're not uh you're just not a number, and you're bigger than who you are. Every time I went to prison, I educated myself. But when I came home, I was right back in the same small town with the same thing. So, getting out of that small town and pursuing this education is a big, big deal for me. And like I said, the Inside Out course, man, helped me in ways that I'm so thankful to Miss Sue. And like I said, I keep an open relationship with Miss Sue. I still reach out to her for help wherever I need it because you just never know. I try to open up and use all the resources that I can use because I'm still scared every single day. I still fear going back to prison, even though I'm doing the right thing. It's something that's going to take time for me to get over. And like I said, you guys got to have an open mind and be patient with people that you're dealing with if you can, So basically that's what I have. Well, I have two other things real quick. So I said some of you will become counselors, some of you will become probation officers, correctional officers earlier, but I think all you guys are going to be counselors and stuff. But I'm telling you, in your field, you can wear many different hats and you can offer a lot of help to individuals such as myself. And I believe that our counseling system, I think it needs to be improved inside of the high schools to catch kids at that age. Because, like I said, some of my struggles, if I'd have had a counselor or if I had mentors or somebody to look up to and gave me something different than what I was doing, I would have knew that there was something different. But some people that come up in a small town, such as myself, never know life outside of that town. I was so good in baseball, I had scouts watching me, but I didn't believe that I could ever make it out of that town because all my life I never seen nobody make it out of that town. So I'd never pursued baseball like I should have when I knew them scouts was watching me, but I chose another path. But yeah, it's like I said, it's possible. And I just ask that you guys keep an open mind. And I guess that's my story right there. And I hope you guys enjoyed it and I hope it helps. And I hope that you can use what I shared with other people that has been inside the system. So I ask that you just keep me in your mind when you're talking to your whoever you're talking to.
Thank
And
you,
like I
James.
said, thank you so much, and it was such an honor to be able to speak.
A question for James. James, give us like 2 minutes. Turn
Yep.
and talk to someone who's sitting around you. Do you have any questions that you would like to ask James? Talk with somebody next to you. What are your thoughts? James, we'll give him a minute or two.
Yep.
And Sue as well, if you have any questions about the Inside Out program. Talk to the person next to you. He's on.
I mean, I feel like you really explained the story. I mean,
I agree, me too.
that's gonna be like, that's gonna be like, you're like seeing so much insight. Really, the environment. Like,
Regardless of bias.
Yeah. It's over. 2, 1. Any questions for Sue or James about the program and the transformation that James was sharing? So no questions right now, James or Sue, but thank you both. Sue, would you like to give a wrap-up statement and James a wrap-up statement, and then we'll close off?
Well, I so appreciate you all taking time to listen. And really the role that you're going into, the your ability to listen empathetically and really hear people is fantastic. And as James said, there's so many barriers, and part of Inside Out is like dialogue that transcends barriers. And also, it changed my style of teaching. As James said, I don't lecture, I facilitate dialogue and learning. And so if you can facilitate people reaching in themselves and finding, as James said, what you need to find, that's fantastic. And I'll share with Dr. Jeter Isles information about the Inside Out program. You can go look at their website, but they continue to have trainings and so on, and they continue to recruit people to teach. And they also, the trainers are folks like James. In fact, I've nominated James to become a trainer. And an integral part of Inside Out is the people who have been on both sides of the wall and have that wisdom and experience. And this is not to say that everyone comes out of incarceration and their life is great and they're wonderful people. Not always. It's just like everyone else. But I would say the vast majority of people, they want to make amends and they want to give back. And they need that opportunity. And that opportunity is so often denied them. So when you get to sit across from people who've been condemned by society and you get to talk to them one-on-one as equals as human beings, that's the beauty of Inside Out. It's one opportunity that someone from outside will have to be an equal, a colleague with someone inside. You start to question a lot of things. You start to question a lot of our beliefs. And I'm so blessed. It's the generosity and the teaching that I've had from folks inside and folks who have been inside, and it's a great blessing in my life. And I hope Inside Out and continues and blossoms and other programs where people can just talk across barriers and be human beings. And I'm so grateful that James could come. And James himself is quite a light in the world, I must say, and he's doing great things up at Penn State and will continue to do. So, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Sue. James? James, you're on mute. Just so you know, we don't want to miss anything.
Sorry.
No worries.
Basically, I was gonna say, before you judge someone's worst mistakes, just ask what happened. Just try to get to figure out somebody's background, because a lot of their actions can be geared toward, their environment. Something I learned in human development, nature versus nurture. It's now nature and nurture, and they go hand in hand. But yeah, just somebody's environment, man. I became a product of my environment. No excuses. I made my own decisions, my own choices. But what I saw going on around me, I normalized. And so often that happens when people normalize certain situations. It takes somebody to help or normalize those things. So as a counselor, I believe that, if you can dig into somebody's past a little bit, and then you can say, oh, well, maybe this is why they're acting like that. And then we can start dealing with the situation. And then just remember that also most people want to get back up. They need opportunity, not assumptions. And we often assume that just because they committed a crime, that's just who they are. And that's not it. Sometimes people act out for attention. They act out for different things. We just never know what somebody's gone through. And I think that Inside Out course is very powerful for interaction among different ethnicity backgrounds, different age groups, and different career paths, people on different career paths. And I think that's very powerful. And yeah, that's basically what I can leave you with. And like I said, here I am. Like I said, I never made it longer than a year and a half. And I had to get away from people, places, and things. I'm from Mount Union, which is a half hour from State College. So once I decided to move up here, and I saw different opportunities, and I saw that there was something different outside that small town. When basically that small town keeps you, it's almost like being institutionalized a little bit. Like you spent so much time in jail, jail becomes your life. I spent so much time in that small town. That was my life. I didn't know anything outside of that. So I just, people need an opportunity, and a lot of times they're not able to get that opportunity. And that's why I'm here. if I can share my story and show people, man, that there's opportunities out here, we just got to take advantage of them. And sometimes you might have to change people, places, and things. And if I can be that beacon of light or beacon of hope for somebody, that's exactly what I want to do. And that's why I'm studying what I'm studying. And maybe one day I can be a counselor just like you. And that's my goal. I'm majoring in right now, I'm in human development and family studies. But I think about maybe next year going to rehabilitation and human services so I can get back into these prisons and these schools and share my story and hopefully reach some kids before they turn to follow that pipeline from school to prison. So yeah, that's basically what I would like to leave you guys with. And like I said, congratulations and thank you again. It was such an honor to be able to speak. This is the second time I spoke. First time I spoke in this such way, but I was nervous. But like I said, thank you again for the opportunity, man. It's such a blessing to be able to share my story. And I hope that I was able to change your mindset or your life if you looked at people like me differently. Thank you.
James, thank you. Professor Sue would like to know if one person could share just a thought about the presentation with them before they leave. Would one person share something with them? Go right ahead.
I'm gonna be working with people who have been recently incarcerated for my internship next year. And I just want to say, James, hearing your story was personally very reassuring, and it comes from a place of selfishness. But just a reminder from someone who's been in that position as a client that giving that space is helpful. Being someone who listens, being empathetic is impactful. I just really appreciate you sharing your story today. Thank you.
Thank you. And real quick, if you don't mind me, Dr. Jeter.
Go right ahead.
And don't think that my life is easy because I just been home finally for 5 years and I'm doing all these things. Every day I struggle mentally. Every day is a struggle. So I still go to therapy. I still talk to people. You counselors are very, very important for people like me to talk to. And like I said, if I didn't have Miss Sue and some of these resources that I got, people are not fortunate enough to have these opportunities. And I believe, like I said, you counselors are very, very important and we need more of you. So I would just like to leave you with that, man. Yeah, I get emotional talking about it, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you, James. I'll be in touch. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.